How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
It's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool!
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late-night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
Alright, let's get to it! Yeah, so today was an interesting day for me.
Why?
I had to clean the freaking car.
Oh, yeah. It smells really gross. It smells like mold in there.
Yes, because it's leaking water from one of the tail lights. Ever since we got hit in the ass.
Yeah.
I got hit in the ass during that one night going to the gym, which was kind of
You should tell them the story of what happened in that hit and run.
Yeah, so one day I was going to gym to basically, not actually gym, but to go pick up some parts from one of my friends. And
yeah, the battery, right? Because the car battery was dying.
Yeah, the car battery was dying, so I ordered a new battery, so then a friend got me one.
And you're using the dying car.
Yeah, I was using the dying car to go get a fucking battery, and I was waiting at the lights, and it was raining. So it was kind of like hard to see on the road, but I was sitting there at the lights with some dude on the left-hand side. I was on the right lane, and then I was just chilling, minding my own business, and then next minute I fly fucking like 10 meters in front of me, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And I realized there's this fucking wagon behind me up my ass. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, I can see the prick fucking reverse. Like he's reversing away from me and then push me again. Like he went forward, so he put it back in the drive and pushed me forward.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? So he hit me twice.
So he technically like plowed you out of the way.
Yeah, he pretty much pushed me out of the way and then casually just go around me in front of opposite traffic over a island and drive off.
Yeah.
So then at the time that he was doing that, I was looking at him and I put my window down and I yelled at him like, what the fuck? So anyway, I was going to chase him because I was thinking, well, he's already fucked me in the ass. I'm going to fucking fuck him up. So I was going to go and chase him and plow him to just spin him out and hit him in the pole or whatever. But I was like, well, as I started moving, I realized that whatever he hit at that time was rubbing against the tire and it wasn't moving. Like you could hear that it's scrubbing and stuff like that. So I was concerned that, it was more damage than what I thought. So,
and didn't the guy next to you tell you as well?
Yeah, the guy on the left was telling me, oh, your stuff is rubbing and stuff. And luckily he pulled over and long story short, there was a few witnesses and it was a fuck around and I could have called the cops and stuff like that, but it wasn't really worth it because the car's a piece of shit anyway, so...
Yeah,
anyway,
but like when you called me, I was actually so surprised that people still do this nowadays. Like I didn't think that many people would do hit and runs anymore. And then after telling my mom about it, she told me that someone else recently had a similar incident, and I think someone else that I was talking to had the same thing. So it was just like, it's more common.
It's a common thing nowadays, which is kind of sad, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
What is that? Anyways, on to the actual topic.
Yeah, so work life. Has it really had any impact in our normal life?
Yeah.
Do you think it actually has?
I think it definitely has on me, because it's been a while. I think ever since I started, it's been almost 10 years. Well, over 10 years now. From me starting my very first job to now. And I'm definitely a different person to what I was back then, like, say, end of high school. And that's why I wanted to bring this topic and discuss it to see if it's also changed you to who you are today.
Well, let's be honest. It was a topic that we sort of spoke about from time to time as well, because it's, as we grow older and as we learn from experiences.
Older and wiser.
Yeah.
Three wise men.
Right.
Confucius.
You do.
Strokes chin.
As we sort of grow older, we realize how much we have changed as individuals as well as, together.
Yeah.
So it's something that we've always wanted to really talk about on this.
But let's start off with maybe just give a little background of
Let's
what you worked.
Let's go with you first because you've started. You've got about 10 years to go through, mate. So
well, you've worked longer than me.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, where do I even start?
Like,
it's been over 15
work?
years since I started working. But
did you work when you were in school?
No. So I wasn't allowed to work during high school or school.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably an Asian culture thing, but parents never let me work.
I think it's just more so you can focus on studying.
And I think that's what they wanted me to focus on. But the problem is I wasn't focusing on school. Like, I honestly had no direction. I honestly didn't care. And I think the problem there was I didn't realize what my parents were trying to do. And it was only until, like, uni was when I realized, somewhat realized, oh, shit, the purpose of school and all that sort of stuff. So,
but sometimes, like, no matter how hard you force someone to study, if they're not a studious person, but they can naturally, learn things from practically working, that's also something different, and you can't force that onto someone. That's the difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, that's a topic on its own. But, during high school, I definitely didn't work, wasn't allowed to, and got my first job when I just got into uni, and that was basically jumping into food. So I worked at Subway. I was a sandwich expert. That's what they call
sandwich artist, isn't it?
Expert and artist, if you want to put it that way. But
did you make good Subways?
Hell yeah! I tried everything on the bloody menu, and I also added a little bit extra.
What's your go-to Subway menu or off the menu meal?
I like I go for the standard chicken classic, or what's it? Yeah, chicken classic, or is it chicken?
Yeah, chicken classic.
Yeah, chicken classic is what they're called now. Hey.
No, it's
No, so it's called something else, but it used to be called chicken classic.
Fillet? I don't know.
Oh yeah, chicken fillet. Yeah, chicken fillet.
I don't know.
Yeah, so it's chicken fillet by origination, but they changed the menu to chicken classic.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's
ask
weird.
Alex.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my go-to food. But yes, that's my first job. I did it for 8 months. I spent every dollar that I earned from that.
Was that a shock to you though? Like your first job where you're like, oh, I didn't realize there's so many things you need to learn, how to talk to people, whatever it is.
Well, no, because when you're in food industry, it's more about your skills and how fast can you action a certain thing, because it's a service, right? You're providing a service.
Yeah, which is still new to you, though.
It is, definitely new, but I mean, it didn't mean anything to me because I'm just doing my job. I'm there to just get paid. I think the biggest thing for me was probably dealing with people.
Yeah. Because
food, it's just food, right? And then if the food isn't good food, people will complain.
Did you ever get people that came back and complained over the smallest thing and was like, oh, my lettuce, I don't have enough lettuce or something?
I mean, it wasn't really complaint. I had people sort of say, hey, can I get extra lettuce, or you didn't put enough. I think the biggest eye-opener thing for me was when I actually dealt with racism over the counter.
What, in Subway?
Yeah, in Subway.
What happened?
And the most fucked up thing was, while this old white man who basically abused me over the counter, he was saying a lot of shit because of my appearance.
What?
Just because I was Asian.
Yeah.
And the most difficult thing with that was, because you're providing a service, you're the worker, you can't do anything, you can't say anything.
Yeah.
The worst part was my manager, who was the owner of the business, was actually there and did nothing.
Is he Asian?
It's a she.
Was she Asian?
No, she was white.
Oh.
Yeah. So that actually really annoyed me. And the worst part of that is, at that time, she was my best mate's mum. So my best mate's mum didn't do shit. Like,
Yeah, that would have been hard.
and it was sad because I doubt they'll listen to this now. It's been many years since I last seen them, but you know, at that time, it was really disappointing from my point of view to know that your mate's mum is not doing shit.
Did you voice anything?
Everyone voiced it. Like there was other customers there that didn't say shit. That just gave that person a dirty stank eye. Who basically came up to me afterwards and apologized and was like, "That was wrong." And everyone was saying it in the shop, but you know, the manager, the owner, my friend's mum didn't do shit. She didn't say nothing. So that, you know, out of that whole thing, that really disappointed me.
But did you learn anything from that though? Like maybe know how to speak up for yourself or?
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with me at that time was I was only 18, so my confidence was low. My knowledge was low. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I wasn't very aggressive and assertive. I wasn't the kind of person that I am now. So it definitely did open my eyes to be more like, oh, you know, you got to watch the people who you're with. And it kind of made me look sort of differently towards Westerners. To feel like I can't trust Westerners anymore. So, you know, that was my first experience to, I guess, the food world and customer experience and that sort of stuff. Before I go on, what was your experience like?
My very first job, but like it's kind of hard to say. So back into more a bit of the Asian culture, usually our family would run their own business, so we would step in to help, like because they don't have money to hire or something.
So you're working during school?
Not during school. It was like after school, I would go and help out at the shops, or on the weekends I would help out on the shops. So my stepmom had a few shops. I think it was selling handbags, selling random goods. And we didn't really do too much. It was just more like standing around making sure that no one's stealing anything. So that's kind of like a little, like barely any, but a little bit of, you know, trying to work. Then my dad opened a juice shop and I think that was it. And it was a mechanic. So I helped out at the juice shop, like maybe stand there and it's already, they squeeze the juice and then they put it in a bottle and then there's prices. So if he needs to step away, he'll be like, oh, can you look after these people? And then someone wants a juice, I'll be like, yeah, what size? You know, they want it small, here you go, $2 and give it to them. So that's like my first encounter with jobs, but I wouldn't call that as a proper job because I wasn't, you know, rostered on Tuesdays, you have to come and help. It was just more like I stand in, whenever I need to. But my first proper job was also when I went to uni. I went to work in hospitality at Comfort Inn. It's like a hotel with a restaurant inside, so I was a waitress inside there. And I'm pretty sure I was really bad at my job. Like, apart from being able to take out dishes, take it back in for cleaning and all that. But I say I was bad because I didn't know how to communicate. I'm not a small talk person. And I didn't know that within myself back then. I didn't even know what small talk was. But I was just really, really quiet. I didn't talk. I didn't do anything. And yeah, I probably was just a really weird waitress person, like colleague. And yeah, didn't really talk to anyone.
Yeah, but what did you learn? Like, what do you think you learned the most from that? Like, just doing that job, though?
I think I definitely learned that I can pick up things really fast in terms of learning process, what you need to do and all that. But the thing I would definitely learned about myself is, like I knew I was quiet, but I didn't really notice that I was that quiet where, like, I was just, I walk into the kitchen, you see people, you know, having jokes around and they'll like talk and banter or whatever, but no one ever did that to me. And I was just like, you know, wondering how do I get into that conversation, and I was really scared to get out of my comfort zone to, you know, join in the conversation and be like, hey, what are you guys laughing at? Like, I was even scared to ask, you know, what are you laughing at, or what are you guys talking about? I was so quiet and so shy to the point that I just kept to doing what I was doing my job, get in, get out, and that's it. But in terms of work skills, I think it was, again, similar thing, learning how to serve people properly and just having that etiquette. But I think I naturally kind of had a bit of that anyway, so that was easy to me. But it was just, speaking up in terms of trying to make a conversation, or, sometimes I'll rock up early to a shift because I need to start early and it's just me and my manager, and it would just be really quiet. And I know it's awkward, but I'm like, I don't know what to say. And in my head, I'm thinking a lot of things. My head's really noisy, but in the actual physical atmosphere, no one is talking.
Interesting. So, did you ever experience anything bad?
I wouldn't say I experienced anything bad. No, I didn't experience anything bad. It's just like, hospitality or any food or, service kind of things. Sometimes you just get really bad customers and that's just normal. Like, there wasn't racism in terms of what you experience. So I think for me in general, I've never really experienced racism, which, like, I am grateful that no one really did that, but I've heard some really bad stories, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky. You've got the good end of the stick. I got the bad end of the stick. Separate topic to talk about. I can go on for hours and days on that stuff.
But at the same time, I am a really naive person, and I think the reason someone probably did give me racist jokes, but I didn't know it was racist, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, or like I laughed at it and I just went on with my day. And I think that's how I've kind of lived through my life. So people, like, no one has ever, I wouldn't say people have bullied me or done any of that, and I think it's purely because most of the time, if they're trying to bully me or send some racist comment or something, I didn't even know. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, whatever.
You're just like, whatever. You didn't realise. Yeah.
And then they probably was like,
no reactions or whatever. Yeah.
And that's what I kind of live by, is don't give people reactions that they think they deserve.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Anyways, off topic. So what was your next job after that?
So after that, I said fuck food service. I ended up working retail. So I worked in the electronics side of retail. So I sold computers, tech, TVs, white goods, all that sort of shit.
Oh yeah, that was when I called you DJ boy.
Yes, I worked at David Jones, yes. But it was good. I actually enjoyed David Jones because it was another element of customer service. It was more face-to-face, building rapport with people. It's not just selling goods. It's understanding what they want, then selling.
Yeah.
I think that was really an eye-opener for me because, like you, when I was 18, I was scared. I was not confident with myself. I couldn't talk. I didn't know how to talk.
Yeah.
So I think that it forced me to start conversations with people, randoms, and get to build that rapport with them.
Yeah.
So that was like a really good, like, I actually really enjoyed working in retail. So I think that was the biggest experience and learning curve was that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever really had bad experiences. Maybe some complaints that is more specific to the product rather than me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's what I did. And I did that for I think that was my uni job. So it was sort of like a 2-3 years thing. I think is how long I did it for. So that kept me surviving for a bit until my next one.
Didn't you say you also fixed computers for a bit, or was that later on?
That was computer thingy was I did do it, but it wasn't anything serious. So I wouldn't say I specifically did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was next?
Because
you actually had a few different types of roles throughout your work.
Yeah, I worked at different, fair few. Just trying to remember what I did after DJs. Yeah, so I worked as a mechanic, did that for a little bit, said no, that's not for me. So then I went to casino, so I worked for the Treasury as a table games dealer. Did it with me cousin.
Did you learn how to count cards?
Well, no, you can't count cards because there's another topic. But I did that for a little bit. That was pretty fun. Wild nights, wild times, good fun.
I actually didn't know, like, I actually learned this from my mom. She actually worked in the casino as well, but you need to learn maths to work in the casino.
Yeah, you do. They teach you, well, they don't teach you. Oh, actually, yeah, they do teach you how to calculate, but yes, you need to be really good with your maths.
Don't you have to memorize, like, certain multiplications?
You need to remember multiplication. You need to be able to do it quickly and randomly.
What if you did it wrong? Do they, like, penalize you?
No, but you need to. That's part of your job. So you have to be good at maths. So that was alright.
Like, what happens if you did, like, you shortchange someone $5 or $10?
Well, you've got your managers, behind you and stuff like that who watch you. So you've got someone watching you at all times. So it doesn't really matter. But yes, you need maths with casino. After that, that's when I sort of said, okay, fucking change the whole industry. Let's go into banking and finance. So that's pretty much my journey from that point.
Which you're still in now, right?
Yeah, which is what I'm still doing now. So fast forward till now, basically, I am head of credit for a digital non-bank lender. So basically, there's too much shit working on that. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think after I actually don't even remember my work journey, but I think after the restaurant, I did take a break because I was uni was getting pretty intense. So I think I stopped, but then I tried to find a job after that. And so I studied business, majoring in advertising. But trying to get into that was really hard. I did do an intern at a marketing agency, did a bit of that, and yeah. I think I was still really shy then, so I didn't end up getting a job because that internship did have a potential of a job position afterwards, but I didn't get it. And me being me, I treasure experience over getting money or whatever it is. So I asked if I could stay another 3 months. So it was a 3-month intern. I asked to stay another 3 months. They said yes. And I asked, what I can do to work on my skills to be able to get a job. But in the end, after the 6 months, I was still not qualified. But I think a lot of that is, again, in the any marketing, advertising, creative world, you have to be social. That's the biggest thing that I learned. And I was still so shy. Not shy in a way that I didn't ask questions on how to do things. Like anything to do with job related, I was good in asking questions, how to do it, what I can do to do better. But in terms of just the social aspect, I was just still really, really quiet. And that marketing firm was just very social. They had a lot of social gatherings. They had a lot of food events, and then you had to go out and see clients all the time. And I think I was just too quiet to a point. It was actually really awkward to have me there. So after that 6 months, I was left with no job again. Still frantically trying to find a job. A lot of my friends studied in law. So a few of them reached out to me and was like, hey, they're looking for an admin. Do you want to work with us? So I was like, yeah, okay. So that's how I started working in a law firm as admin for a little bit. But from then, I actually started to grow a lot more in terms of being able to talk. I think it was also comfortable to know that I had a friend there. So that's when I started to grow in terms of knowing how to communicate, how to open up a bit more. Did the admin for, I think, maybe 8 months or something like that. I can't remember. And then because they saw that I learned really fast, I progressed really fast. So they gave me an opportunity to move up into paralegal. So I did that. And I would say working in a paralegal position is the biggest area where I grew the most. Because for someone that's really quiet, you're dealing with a lot of people that are very time poor. Like, these people need to get stuff done. They're here to get stuff done for their client, and the clients are also time poor. And then you got to deal with all these other parties, and these parties are also generally really aggressive. So that built me up to have thicker skin. So that's kind of my journey. And then after that, I decided, I need to get back onto the path of what I studied in uni. So I stopped that, studied graphic design, and now I am in digital marketing and also doing user interface design now.
Nice. And I think what I forgot to mention when I was talking about my journey was, I think the biggest thing that I learned just throughout that whole experience was, one, the industry and how weird it was, and the people. So dealing with people, you figure out the different kind of characters that you enjoy to be with and you work with. You understand how to trust people and the people who you don't trust, and people who you can lean on, who can be your mentor or who could be a good colleague to be with.
Yeah.
I think making as many friends, acquaintances, any sort of relationship throughout your journey has a massive impact to, one, how you improve yourself as a person, and two, connection. I think connection has a big thing in all industries, but with mine specifically, that helped me a lot.
Yeah. And I think it was really weird because back then, from high school to uni onwards, I was social in terms of being to hang around. Like, it's really weird. So I'm not social and really, really shy when I'm in a space that I don't know anyone. But as long as I have friends around, or at least one person that I know, I'm completely different. Like, I'm so social. I'm ready to hang out. Like, people back then would know me that I always went out clubbing. I always went out drinking, and it would always just be me hanging out with random people that I may have just met. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to hang out and do that. So then hearing me shy in the corporate world is very different. And I think that was my comfort zone that I was just too scared to get out of. And that's what I learnt when I was being a paralegal, because there's just no time for you to be shy.
Yeah, and I think that's relatable for me too, because when I was younger, I used to party, drink, go out, hang around with people, good people, bad people.
Yeah.
And I think with, I guess, work, the corporate environment, I was always told and learnt to separate your private life to your work life.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in work or just at work would always think that I'm shy, I'm a weirdo, or I'm just really quiet. I don't share those things.
Yeah.
But I do it on purpose because I like to separate it.
Yeah, I'm the same. But I think a big part of also why I was like that is because I did grow up in Australia, like I was born here, but a lot of what I saw as examples or role models, like either parents or what I was exposed to, is all very Asian tradition work life. So your boss is your boss. You're not a friend with your boss, and you don't leave until they leave. And if they tell you to do something, you have to do something. Everything's like very obedient.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, like, you can joke around with them, you can give them shit, or you can be more relaxed. And I only knew that very obedient way of working. That's why I was so scared to do something wrong. I was always like quiet, and I'm like, I would just observe. I'm like, what can I do? What can't I do? And that was how it was. And then working into that corporate life, that was when I was like, oh, like, you can. It was actually you, like, seeing how you interacted with people, and you just give people shit all the time, no matter if you're at work or with friends. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that you can actually talk to people like that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing for me too, because obviously I had to learn those boundaries too.
Yeah.
But, you figure out what's the limits. You learn how to banter with people. You learn how to build rapport with people. And I think that, I guess the
banter is what I just didn't understand. And sometimes I still struggle today in bantering, because that's just, I don't know, I just can't understand.
I mean, like, it was harder for me because when, like, pre this whole working and experience, I was pretty straight cut. I was kind of rude and immature.
I can see how you've grown, because you were really aggressive, very fiery back then, especially when you did settlements. And now you're a lot more professional.
Yeah, and I think doing settlements really helped. I guess, moving away from settlements really helped me, because in settlements you deal with a lot of wankers. You deal with a lot with, solicitors who have a lot of ego and shit like that. So I used to get...
Explain what settlements is? Just a brief breakdown.
So, settlements is basically like, you know, you're representing a financial institution. So, for an example, someone's bought a home, so they're basically settling it, right? So, in order for a loan to settle, I basically come into this process where I would act on behalf of that person's bank, and I'd basically hand over the physical monies.
Yeah, transferring the money.
Yeah, to transfer money to pay out your debt or your...
And transferring the name from an old owner to a new owner.
So, you know, there's... In Queensland, it's called Queensland Title. So basically, I would lodge those documents for people.
Yeah.
So that's what I basically did. And when you're doing that kind of job, it's very high... I guess
it's fast paced for sure, because you have 5 minutes to do that settlement, and then you got to get out and go across the other side of Brisbane City and do another settlement.
Yeah, it's fast paced, but it's like the intensity it's there because you got to deal with so many different people, banks, solicitors, you know, or brokers. You're dealing with all sorts of people who can be quite intense.
Yeah, and some of the factors is like you have to be to the T, like when you're marking off those transfers, like transferring from an old person to a new person, even if you're missing a dot in that name or you're missing $1 in that transfer of money, you can't settle. And because of that, you know, like the other parties are yelling at you because they're like, come on, it's like $1.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that don't understand and they just get angry, and it's emotional, right? So they get real shitty. So you deal with a lot of people sort of arcing up at you.
Yeah.
And during that period of me doing settlements, that made me really, I wouldn't say aggressive. Well, yeah,
you
aggressive.
were pretty aggressive.
I was extremely aggressive because I had to deal with people like that all the time.
I think a lot of settlement clerks were aggressive.
And it made me... Like, I had a really short temper, and I used to have fights with brokers. I used to have fights with solicitors.
Yeah.
I'd call them out. I'd be like, yeah, let's go outside. I'll fuck you up right now. Let's go. Let's put the dukes up. Let's do it right now.
Yeah, and on top of that, you'd be having phone calls with the banks to do this and do that, and you're trying to, you know, move the next settlement. And
yeah,
so everything's happening at the same time.
Everything's happening at the same time. So, like, I felt that during that period it was bad for me because it made me really short-tempered.
Yeah.
And I think moving away from that made me learn that I can't be like that because in a professional world, you have to be professional.
Yeah.
So like you said, it really forced me to change, to slow down and to really think about my one choice of words and my anger, and the way I control my anger. And I think that, also relays back onto me keeping my private life separate to my corporate life. Because I don't want people to know who I am, what I do, that sort of stuff. Because if they really knew who I was, then they would think differently of me.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, the gist of what really happened in my life.
Yeah. For me, it's the change of just similar situation, but like being a paralegal, you're the person who think of an event coordinator, or you're trying to coordinate this settlement to happen. So you're the person that goes on the settlement after I've booked it in. I'm the person who needs to check all the loan documents, make sure everything's correct, make sure I've got all the right checks for this settlement to go ahead, and then make sure everything's been witnessed and all that. But because we're dealing with all these parties, like solicitors, banks, whatever, but a lot of these people, because they're time poor, they've got pressure or whatever, they end up also being aggressive. Like this whole industry, a lot of people are really aggressive. So usually as a person back then, if someone called me something like you're a fuckhead or something, I'd just be like, oh, okay, I don't really think too much of it. Or I'd be like, okay, that was pretty rude, but then I'd just go on with my day. But every single day when you've got high demand, all this pressure, I've even been called a fucking cunt before, and like over time, it actually gets to you where you're like, dude, what the hell? Like, I need this. And because I'm also representing the bank, if there's no money in this transfer, this settlement's not going to go ahead. So if they don't have me, the settlement won't move. So I'm just, I need to stand my ground and be like, no, you need to make sure that this fund's been moved over, or you've got this by this day, because then the settlement won't happen. And then because I'm telling them that the settlement can't happen until this happens, they're like, oh, you're a fucking cunt, you're useless, you're doing this and that. So that was when...
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, so that was when I started to feel the pressure. And then over time, I couldn't stay quiet, so I had to start to speak up, because if you don't, no one else is speaking up for you, because all these files are under your name, and you can't just be like every single time and go to your manager and be like, this person doesn't want to do settlement because of this. Like, you have to do your job to stand up for yourself and make the settlement happen, because if settlements don't happen, these clients also get a fee if they don't, like a extra charge if things don't happen. So you have all these things on the line, and I just was forced to speak up and, stand my ground.
Yeah, and I think that's all part of that industry too, because you, especially where we came from the start, we're very timid, we're quiet, we're there to do a job, to not actually react. We're more...
Yeah. It wasn't, I don't think it wasn't quiet. It's more like you don't want to be in that argument. You just want to have everything as a level ground. But sometimes if you don't speak up, some of these people will keep ripping into you until you do something about it, and they think they can keep pushing you. But really, if you don't speak up, they're going to continue to push you.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing I learned too, is I think my struggles was not really coming out and talking about it, or checking someone if they were to check me.
But you're generally pretty good at, snapping back at someone pretty fast.
Well, yeah, now I am, but back then I wasn't. Like,
even in settlements though?
Even like...
or before that?
Like, before settlements, I was never like that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so I think even though I'm in a totally different industry now, I really do appreciate the time that I did as a paralegal and all the stuff, because that has built me to who I am today. And if I didn't go through all of that, my communication, me standing up for myself, me being able to, talk more honestly or straightforward or be more open, like I wouldn't have had that, and I'd still be a bit more sheltered and shy or quiet, and I wouldn't stand my ground.
Do you think it helped you with your time management skills and stuff like that?
I think I've always had time management, but I think it has helped me learn how far I can push my time management and my process and all that. So I think that helped me learn about myself more. The biggest thing is definitely communication, getting back to emails promptly, and how to type it professionally, like instead of, leaving it half-assed and typing it without explaining properly what you need, and being, direct and to the point of what you need, because, these things are all time, within a time constraint. So you have to be concise, you have to be straight to the point, you have to be clear. So that was another thing that I learned.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing for me. Over the time, it's really learning how to email, how to communicate with people, using the right words, the safe words,
yeah,
being passive rather than aggressive.
Yeah.
And keeping my emotions outside of work.
Yeah, I think you did that really well.
I think that's the massive learning curve. Like, I think I'm glad that me personally went through all that shit of work, because without that, I wouldn't be what I am now.
Yeah.
Not just the skill-wise, but in terms of the experience. I think the experience really helped me hone what I can do now.
And I think moving into the previous role I had before I had now, I did take on a lot of roles. But I think the good thing about working in paralegal first is because you take a lot of file loads, and you juggle a lot of different things at the same time. And my previous job, my first digital marketing / graphic design role, I also took on a lot of roles, and I actually managed that, and I felt fine. Like, I wasn't real, like, obviously you get to a point where sometimes there is a lot of stuff and you're juggling a lot and you get stressed, but it rarely occurred. Like, I always managed to juggle.
But you're similar to like a project manager, right?
Well, a little bit. Like, I was a bit of everything, but it's just more like being able to manage all these different roles
time
that I was
management,
doing.
and I was skills,
and I was fine with that because I think of, you know, being in a paralegal and the high demand of everything that I had to do.
The volume was what really helped you.
Yeah, but it wasn't just the volume of the files. Like, I was doing a bit of everything as well. Like, sometimes I still have to step back in and do a bit of the admin job as well. So it was just that high pressure. Never anything can be compared to this demand that I had in paralegal. I don't think that's what helped me. Yeah.
I think all of our, I guess it's just the timeline, right, has a massive effect in anyone's learning curve, because you've obviously started from the bottom and now you kind of like at this certain point.
Yeah.
I think the biggest take that I think of it as a general perspective is, you know, life is all about learning.
Yeah.
And it's all about putting yourself in, you know, the deep end and getting your hands wet, dirty, experiencing what it is before you sort of figure out if it has anything for you.
Yeah. And I think something similar to that, no matter what you do, like, not work related, just life in general, whether or not it was a good experience or a bad experience, there's always a takeaway, something that you learn from that experience that you do. Like, you know, for example, if you had a bad breakup, you still learn something from that. And then for career-wise, say my example, I still wanted to do marketing, advertising, but I ended up in paralegal, which is not where I wanted to go. But if you trust in the process, just, you know, give it a go, try it out. And if that's what you need to do to keep a living, like manage to pay for your living, your lifestyle, there's still something that you can learn from it and something you can take away, which has now been the biggest takeaway for anything that I do in any job.
Yeah, I think to sort of tee this up to, I guess, the Asian culture, because I really think that our upbringing definitely had some impact to how we perform in work.
Yeah, for me, it definitely has.
I think you like just the Asian, I guess my parents, I think for yours as well, but my parents really drilled in the fact that when you're working, you're giving it 100%. And it's
more than 150%.
150%, right? Yeah. But it's about you. You do your job based on your performance. You do the best that you can. And I think the biggest thing that my parents applied to me, which now I understand and which I've been doing for many, many years, is keeping your personal life separate to your business or your work life. Because any personal issues, any personal shit that's going on, that's emotions. And those personal emotions will have some effect to work life.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that separation. And I think that's the biggest thing that, you know, the Asian upbringing really helped hone and sort of, you know, came to that understanding, is that it had a massive effect.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I guess for me, when I'm hiring people or when I'm reviewing like new staff and stuff like that, you can really tell a difference between our ethics, work ethics and morals.
Yeah.
Not to say that, you know, other cultures or Western culture is bad, but you can definitely tell a difference with
it's just a different way that they see or do things.
Just the way they see working and stuff like that. So,
but there is still stuff that we can benefit from them. Like for me, the biggest thing that I can see that they do really good is definitely just that social aspect and just being so friendly with each other. Whereas like the Asian culture, they're just very there to work listen to their boss, and that's it.
And I think that's the biggest thing I realized is when if you dial back to my first job, you know, Subway, the difference between me and like another person who was from the Western culture, they were more social, they were really talkative, they were, you know, building rapport straight away. Yeah. And even I was like, shit, I wish I had that skill or that confidence to do so.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I was drilled to just go to work, do my job, get out.
Yeah.
Don't do anything else. Like that.
But I'm still, like, I feel like it's really hard for me to get out of that habit. I'm still a bit like that, in terms of like, you know, I'm still scared of opening up to like a boss or a manager, like, unless I really, really know them, then I can. But
which is understandable, because that's the same thing with me too. But the thing is I need to, in order for me to give you trust or to open myself, I need to make sure that you are worthy to be trusted.
I'm like that as well.
Until you can prove to me that you are ready to ride or die, then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna ride with you, and I'll give you my loyalty, and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah. But like for me, it's other factors as well. It's not that I'm scared of opening to the boss or managers because they're my boss. I am a person who has very high guard in terms of trust as well. So that's also another factor that has a play into it, which is something else that we'll talk about. But yeah, that's also why I sometimes struggle to open up to just people in general, because that trust guard is there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, I really do think work life, just experience from the very start of where we started to now, majorly had a massive impact to our life as an individual to today.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I wouldn't say regret, but I think about is that I should have worked earlier, because all those work experiences build you up massively, and it's nothing that you can study over. Like, you can read so many people's experiences or books or whatever, but it never compares to you actually doing it yourself, because everyone, again, has different ways of working, different personalities, and
just different ways of learning. And that's the same thing with me, and I agree with it too, because, you know, I wish that I started working when I was 14, 15, 16, because working earlier would have made me push myself to a uncomfortable boundary, but that would have forced me to learn and understand the value of money, the value of working hard, the value of actually being independent in that regard.
Yeah.
And that's a difference between the Western and the Asian culture too, because my parents didn't let me work, but I wish that I could have worked.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing that I envied my Aussie friends or my Western friends, was that. But, you know,
the biggest thing for me is more the social aspect. Like, sometimes I'm very self-conscious of how awkward I am. Like, now I'm a lot better. Like, whether or not it's awkward, I don't really give a shit anymore. But to open me up in that way to grow a network, because I was just so shy, so scared of getting out of my comfort zone. I didn't have a network of people that I can, you know, lean on or be a mentor, have a mentor or something like that, purely because I couldn't open up and just know how to talk to people. That's why I wished I worked earlier, so I can grow that social aspect or attribute, or whatever you call it. Yeah, so I guess that's it. It was a bit of a longer episode, but it was just something that we wanted to bring up and reminisce over and reflect, because it's been quite a long time since we started in a workforce. So I just wanted to see if work has changed you, and has it changed you in a good or bad way, and it seems like it's been all positive.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed over those times, but we wouldn't be where we are now if we didn't go through those experiences.
Yeah, and everyone should be growing constantly, I think. And it's a good thing that when you look back, you've changed so much. It means that you have grown.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much if you have reached to the end. We really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Bigger. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's AskTheDuoPodcast. Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye!
See ya!